Hello everyone. This is question and answer session for the OOPS concept in JavaScript. So these are all the interview questions. So this will help you to crack your interviews. Okay, so we will start. The first question, true or false? The terms scope and context refer to the same thing in the JavaScript. Is it true or false? It is false because the scope pertains the visibility of the variables, and in contrast, the context refers to the object to which a method belongs, which can be changed by using call or apply. Next question, if you omit the var keyword when the keyword creating a variable in a function, it becomes the property of what object? Answer, the window object. When omitting the var keyword, the variable you create becomes an implied global. However, implied globals are not variables in a function. As a result of this mistake, an implied global actually becomes the property of the window object. Although the window object is considered the global scope, it is an object and any variable declared in the global scope, intentionally or otherwise, actually becomes the property of the window object. Next questions. How do you determine if the JavaScript instance was created from the specific constructor or not? So using the instance of operator. The answer is using the instance of operators. Next question. True or false? Once you create an object, you can add, remove, or change the property of an object at any time, whether it is true or false. Yes, it is true. Next question, true or false? You can only instantiate the JavaScript constructor function once. So its answer is false. You can make as many instances as you want. There is no limit. So how many instances will create, that many constructor will call. That many times the constructor will call. Next question, when you create a function inside a method, what does this keyword refers to when used in that function? So the these keyword, it refers, the answer is window object. So inside the function, the these keyword always refers to the window object. So it is the reference of current object. On the other hand, when a function is a property of an object, then the these keyword refers to the object to which that method belongs. Next question, name two ways to change the context of JavaScript method. So the answer is use the call or apply method. The call and apply methods, this can be used to specify the context of another method. Next question, can a JavaScript constructor returns a primitive values, for example, number or a string? So the answer is no. Constructor, a JavaScript constructor can only return an object. When no return value is specified, it returns the instance of itself only. However, if an object is specified as the return value, then the object is returned, then object is return value. Thus, if any value other than object is specified as the return value, then it returns an instance of itself only. Next question, in JavaScript, are the object passed by reference or by value? So in JavaScript, all the objects are passed by reference. When you make a change to a reference to an object, you change the actual object. Primitive types are, however, passed by values. Next question, what is difference between constructor function and non-constructor function with respect to the word this? So in a non-constructor function, this refers to the global context, or if the function is a method, it refers to the object to which the method belongs. In the instance object that is returned by a constructor function, this refers to the instance object itself. Next question, what is the name of property that allows you to add the properties and methods to an object, as well as every object that inherits from it? So the answer is the prototype property. Next question, true or false? An object literal can be used to create the private variables. The answer is false. Only functions can be used in JavaScript to create the privacy. Question: what is the name of object that refers to the application used to view a web page? The answer is navigator object. Next question: true or false? The object returned by the document.getElement by tag name method is an array. Answer is false. Yes, so answer is false because the object returned by the document.getElement by tag name method is an HTML collections. This is an array-like object that has a length property and can be enumerated, but it is not actually the JavaScript array. Given the below code, what line of JavaScript would allow the foo.getColor to return the value of foo.color without using the word foo? So the answer is this.color. Question: what is difference between using dot notations and bracket notations when accessing an object property? If using dot notations must be a string and refer to a property that in fact exists. When using bracket notations, any valid JavaScript expression that produces the value can be used inside the brackets, such as a variable or an array element. Next question: what is important to remember about the last property value in the JavaScript object literal? The answer is the last property value should not be followed by the comma. Given the code, what is very likely the reason that the programmer made the first letter as a foo is capital, where foo equal to function, then curly braces. Then foo is meant to be used as a constructor function. So by rule, the name of the constructor function should be starts with the capital letter. Next question: given below the code, how could you instantiate the function foo and assign it to the variable bar where foo equal to function? So we can assign it where bar equal to new foo. So in this way, we can create the object for that constructor and constructor get called. What are the two ways in which the variable foo can be assigned to an empty object? First, where foo equal to new object. Second, where foo equal to empty curly braces. Next question, true or false? When you create an object literal, you must first instantiate the object constructor. Answer is false. Yes, because in order to create the object literal, you assign a variable to an object. As a matter of fact, the syntax is as simple as where foo equal to curly braces. However, the constructor function is used when creating an instance object, which is different process. Next question, when using add event listener method to create the click handler for a DOM element, what is the value of this inside the callback you specify? The answer is the DOM element that was clicked. Next question, if a string is primitive value, why does it have the split method? Because any string has a wrapper object that provides the numerous methods for that type. Although the primitive JavaScript values do not enjoy the first class nature of the object, they have the wrapper object that temporarily wrap the primitive value and provides the various method. Moreover, once primitive wrapper method has finished their execution, that primitive value get unwrapped and it is returned to its normal primitive state. Next question, true or false? A function can have its own properties and methods. Yes, answer is true because the functions, as the matter of fact, inherit from the object. Therefore, you can add the properties and methods to a function at any time. Next question, JavaScript is case sensitive. Yes, JavaScript is case sensitive because a function str is not equal to str. What is the type of JavaScript? There are different data types available in the JavaScript: string, number, Boolean, function, object, null, and undefined. What types of Boolean operators in JavaScript? So there are the three types of Boolean operators available: AND operator, OR operator, and NOT operator. AND operator, these Boolean operators, to perform the Boolean operations, these Boolean operators are used. Now, what is the difference between double equal to and triple equal to symbol? The double equal to is auto type conversion and it checks the value, not the type. And the three equal symbols is not the auto type conversion and it checks the value and type both. For example, if one equal to one, so first value one is integer, second value one is string. So it returns true because it's not an auto type conversion and it checks only the value, not the data type. If we use the triple equal symbol, triple equal symbol one, then in this case it returns the false because it's not auto type conversion and it checks the value and type, data type both. You can see the remaining examples. What is an object? The object in JavaScript, it is a collection of properties and each property associated with the name value pairs. The object can contain the any data types like numbers, array, objects, etc. For example, where my object equal to property empid value is 001, emp code value is x0091. So here my object is the object created and it has the property and value pair. Next question, what is the scope variable in the JavaScript? The scope, the answer, the scope is the set of objects, variables, and functions, and the JavaScript can have the global scope variables and the local scope variables. The global scope is a window object and it is used out of the function and within the function. Local scope, it is a function object and it's used within the functions only. The example is given, global var, its value is Anil Singh. Then inside the function, we can use the global var variable and outside the function also we can use the global var variable. Then x equal to 15. X equal to 15, it is local variable. So this x variable we can use inside the demo test function only. Outside the demo test function, if we are going to use the x equal to 15, then it generates the error because it is local variable for that function. What is the array and what is associative array in JavaScript? So array answer, array is collection of index items and it is number existing and it is a number indexes. Some of programming languages support array name indexes and the JavaScript not support the array as names indexes and it provides only the number indexes but provides this feature using associative array. The array with the name indexes are called the associative array and the associative array provides the way to store the information. For example, where users equal to new object. So users is created as array, then users of name 1 equal to Anil 2, users of name 2 equal to Anil 2, Anil 1, Anil 2, users of age equal to 33. Now in the users, there are three properties, name 1, name 2, name age. So its length is, if we calculate its length, it will return the 3. Where to use the associative array? Now I'm going to explain the associative array over the database table columns. A table has some columns and its types. And emp name as text type, emp age as number type, and emp dob as the date type. If we need to find type of columns that time, we can create the associative array. Next question, how to achieve the inheritance in JavaScript? In the JavaScript, we can implement the inheritance using some alternative ways and we cannot define a class keyword, but we create the constructor functions and using the new keyword, we can achieve it. So the some alternative ways are pseudo-classical inheritance and prototype inheritance. So pseudo-classical inheritance is the most popular way. In this way, they create a constructor function using the new operator and add the members function with the help of for the constructor function prototype. And the next approach is prototype based programming. It's a technique of object oriented programming. In this mechanism, we can reuse the existing object as a prototype. The prototype inheritance, also known as the prototypical. Next question, what is type of operator? Answer, the type of operator is used to find out the type of a particular variable. For example, type of in double quotes Anil Singh. So Anil Singh, it is the string value, so it will return the string. Type of 3.33. So it returns the data type number. Type of true. So true, it's a Boolean value, so it returns the Boolean. Now type of inside curly braces name colon Anil age colon 30. So these are the two properties. Name, its value is Anil, and age and its value is 30. So it is the object because in the object only we can write the properties and values. So for this, it returns the data type as a object. Then array in a square brackets, some values are enclosed 10, 20, 30, 40. Now if we check what is the type of this, it again returns the object. So array is also having the data type object. Next question, what is public, private, and static variables in JavaScript? I'm going to explain the strongly type object-oriented programming like the C hash, C++, and Java. First, creating the conductor class and trying to achieve the declare the public, private, static variables in details. So public variables are the variables that can accessed within a whole program everywhere. Private data members, these are accessible inside the functions only where it is created. And static variables, these are, we have to create the static variable inside the class, and it can be accessed using the class name. No need to create the object for accessing the static variables. For example, the function is created here, the emp id is created, emp name is created, again one function is created. So emp id, emp name, these are the emp id is the private variables, emp name is the public, and emp salary is the public method inside the function. Next question, who to create the namespace in JavaScript? Who have to create the namespace? So you can see the example how to create the namespace in JavaScript, where namespace, the namespace or namespace dot myemp concepts. Inside that public variable, create the public variable, private variable, then methods. Then method is private, so outside the function we cannot call it, but the variables we can call it. So the namespace given how many variables are there inside the function and what is their scope, that is specified by the namespace. Next question, how to add remove the properties to the object in runtime in JavaScript. So using the JSON, we can add or remove the properties to the objects. So example is given, this is the JSON object, ID, name, department, the values are assigned. Then delete, if you want to delete the properties department, we can use the delete keyword, delete, then object JSON, it is the name of the object, dot the property name department. Now the department property will be deleted from the object. Now remaining only two properties. And if you want to add any property, then you can use this statement, object.json.age equal to 30. Now already age is not there inside the object. So only two objects are there, ID and so only two properties are there, ID and name. So if you want to add it, you can add using this statement. The object name dot property name its values. Then this property will get added inside the object. Now it becomes like this. How to extend the built-in objects in JavaScript. JavaScript supports the built-in objects which users develop the flexibility of JavaScript. The built-in objects are date, string, math, array, and objects. It is very similar to other languages and it's available in the window content and work independently when the viewers are loaded. For example, create the object of date class where date equal to new date, then where math equal to math dot obsolete in bracket 10, calling the method of math class, then var string equal to string. So here the date object is built-in object, then math built-in object, math is, and string is built-in object. So in this way we can extend the built-in objects in the JavaScript. Next question, why never use new array in JavaScript? We have some fundamental issues with the new array example. In details for array constructor functions given below, var equal to when array have more than one integer values, then create the array like this, var array name equal to array in bracket pass the values. Then if we want to access it, array of 0, it returns the 10. Then its length is 5. When array have only one integer, then array of 10, create an array, empty array, and it's having the 10 values. After that returns the array of 0, then it returns the undefined, but for the length it defined the 10. So if we create the empty array, so that time it gives the length as the 10, but element is not there while going to access. So that it's create an error, array index out of bound. Next question, what is eval and floor function in JavaScript? Answer, eval function used in execute an argument as the expressions, or we can say that evaluate a string as the expression and it is used to parse the JSON. The example for eval is x equal to 14, eval in bracket x plus 10. Then evaluate function will evaluate the expressions and will return the value for 24. 14 plus 10, 24. Another eval function, eval var my eval equal to 10. If we display the my eval, it will return the value 10. So in this way, eval function is used to execute the statement. And flow function. Floor function is a static method of the math, and we can write the math.floor and use to round the number to its downwards. For example, 1.6. So it's round that number downwards. So output become 1. Now what is the join and Isnan function in JavaScript? The join function used to join the separator in the array. For example, my array dot join my separators. In this way, we can use the join methods. For example, the array is created ABCD. Now, joined without separator. So, var result 1 alphabets dot join. Now, it shows the output ABCD. Now, join with separator alphabets dot join in bracket comma. Then it gives the output A, B, C, D. So we can join the elements in the array with the comma. So the join method is used to join the separator in the array. Then Isnan method, it is used to check the value is not a number. For example, var1 is man in bracket minus 1.23. Then minus 1.23 is not a number, true or false. It returns false. Is none in bracket 3. It returns false. Is none in bracket 0. It returns false. Because minus 1.23, then 3 and 0, all these are the numerical value. So that is none value return the false. Now pass the date to this function. So in that case, it returns the true. What is closure in JavaScript? While you create the JavaScript function within the another function, an inner function freely access all the variables of outer functions. So it is called as the closure. What is JavaScript hoisted? In the JavaScript, the variables can be used before declared. This kind of mechanism is called as hoisted. It's default behavior of JavaScript. You can easily understand the concepts using the example where emp equal to Anil Singh. Then display where emp, the declaration of emp is hosted, but the value of emp is undefined. Emp equal to 10. The assignment still occurs when we intended the value 10. So when we write the var emp, that time we can say the variable is hosted. After that, we assign the values. Now, what is the function overloading in JavaScript? So answer, there is no real function overloading available in JavaScript, and it allows to pass any number of parameters of any type. You have to check inside the function how many arguments have been passed and what is the type argument using the type type. The example for function overloading is function sum in bracket a comma p. Then it displays the addition of a plus p. Then function sum in bracket c, it displays the value c. Now both the functions are having the same name sum, so that we can see it is a function overloading because their name is same but their task is different. Now call the sum in bracket 3. So it will check the signature for the function where the parameter is only 1. So it will call the second method and display the output 3. Then second time call the sum function and pass the 2 parameters. So here it will check a sum method who's having the 2 parameters in their definitions. So it calls the first function and displays the output. 2 plus 4, its output should be 6. So in JavaScript, the function overloading means having the same name functions, but their tasks are different. In JavaScript, when we write more than one function, the same name, that time JavaScript considers the last defined function override the previous function. We can achieve the several different techniques, like you can check the declare argument name value is undefined or not. We can check the total argument with the argument slot length, checking the type of passing argument, using the number of arguments, then using the optional arguments x equal to x or default, using the different name in the first place. We can use the argument array to access any given argument by using the arguments of I. Next question, what is prototype in JavaScript? The prototype is the fundamental concepts of JavaScript, and it must to known JavaScript developers. All the JavaScript object has an object and its property is called the prototype, and it's used to add and the custom function and properties. The example without prototype is given below. Employee equal to function. So it is a constructor function. Then create the object emp instance dot department equal to it. It is created, it is displayed. Then employee equal to function, another function is defined. Then employee dot prototype department equal to it. Now using prototype, the department value is assigned as a it. Now for every instance, employee will have the department. Create the instance of above constructor function and assign its values. What are the different data types in JavaScript? So number, string, Boolean, function, object, null, defined. What are the different two ways of creating an object? So object literals is the most common way to create the object with the object literals. For example, where object name equal to two curly braces. Then where object using the new keyword, we can create the object. Where object equal to new object. Then global variable, a variable which can be accessed anywhere from the page. Next question, why self is needed instead of this in JavaScript? So why self is needed? Also, we can say the advantage of where self equal to this and where self equal to this. Where self equal to this. In this JavaScript, the self is the pattern to maintaining the reference to the original these keyword. And also we can say that this is a technique to handle the events. Right now, the self should not be used because modern browsers provide the self as a global variable, that is windows.self. So self keyword is needed instead of this. For example, where self equal to this, then self dot username equal to name. The term scope and context refers to the same thing in JavaScript. False. Scope pertains to the visibility of the variables and context refers to the object to which the method belongs, which can be changed by using the call or apply method. Next question, if you omit the where keyword when creating a variable in a function, it becomes a property of that object. Answer, when omitting the where keyword, the variable you create becomes the implied global variable. But implied globals are not variables inside the function. An implied global variable actually becomes the property for that object, although the window object is considered as a global scope. It is an object and any variable declared inside the global scope, intentionally otherwise becomes a property of the window object. Next question, how do you determine a JavaScript instance object was created from a specific constructor or not? So using instance of operator, we can determine it. Next question, once you create an object, you can add, remove and change the properties of that object at any time. Answer is yes. We can add, remove and change the properties of object anytime. Next question, when you create a function inside of a method, what does the this keyword refers to when used in that function? So the window object inside the function, this keyword always refer to the window object. But when a function is property of an object, then this keyword refers to the object the function is method of. Name the two ways to change the context of JavaScript method. So we can use the call and apply method. The call and apply methods can be used to specify the context and context of another method. Can a JavaScript constructor returns a primitive values, that is number or a string? No. A JavaScript constructor can only returns the object. When no returns value is specified, it returns the instance of itself. If an object is specified as the return value, then object is the return value. If any value other than the object is specified as the return value, then it returns the instance of itself. Next question, in JavaScript, are objects passed by reference or passed by value? In JavaScript, all the objects are passed by reference. When you make a change to a reference to an object, you change the actual objects. Primitive types are passed by the values. Next question, what is the difference between constructor function and a non-constructor function with respect to the word this? Answer, In a non-constructor function, this refers to the global context, or if the function is method, it refers to the object to which method belongs. In the instance object that is returned by the constructor function, this refers to the instance object itself. Next question, an object literal can be used to create the private variables? Answer, false. Only functions can be used in objects in JavaScript to create the privacy. Next question, what is the name of the object that refers to the application used to view the web page? So the name is navigator object. The object returns by the document.getElement by tag name method is an array. False. The object returned by the document.get by the tag name method is an HTML collections. Okay, so it's not written in array, it's written in the collections. Next question, which object or property combination provides a reference to the protocol used to view the current web page? So the answer is location.protocol. Next question, what is the difference between using the dot notations and the bracket notations when accessing an object property? So if using dot notations, the property must be string and refer to a property that exists, and using bracket notations, any valid JavaScript expression that produces a value can be used inside the brackets, such as the variable or an array elements. Next question, what is important to remember about the last property's value in a JavaScript object literal? The last property value should not be followed by a comma. Most browsers will let you get away with it if you forgot, but the Microsoft Internet Explorer will complain about the extra commas. Next question, what are the two ways in which the variables foo can be assigned to an empty object? Where foo equal to new object and where foo equal to two curly braces. Next question, when using add event listener method to create the click handler for a DOM element, what is the value of this inside the callback you specify? Answer is the DOM element that was clicked. It will return the DOM element which is clicked. Okay, so it's done for these sessions. Thank you so much.